Well, hello everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. This is the Canadian YouTube creator, of course, also known as Jason Cosmic RSSP Authority. And as I always say, my present subscribers, you guys know what RSSP stands for, right? But for newbies new to my channel, I hope there'll be some new people to my channel, because YouTube doesn't seem to be promoting my videos. Is it the CIA in the rabbit hole of YouTube not liking the truth and transparency that I'm trying to provide? I don't know the answers to that. But for you guys new to my channel, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. I hope you give me the thumbs up. Feel free to share my videos, everybody, and of course leave comments. I read them. They're not always positive. I get some negative comments sometimes, but I could deal with constructive criticism. And I thank all my present subscribers, guys. I need your support, because I do think I think I am providing a lot of transparency and truth, at least to the best of my ability, okay? You know, I think more of us, we are starting to slowly break down the walls of this crazy, absurd, elite secrecy. And again, my life goal is to try to help us penetrate this black budget technology once and for all, because we've been lied to, as I told you, for 50 to 60 years. And any researcher worth a grain of salt will tell you that on these free energy generation propulsion systems, my friends. But there's not many researchers in this field. And as I've always said, the real secret space program, the RSSP, I believe it really gives us a great stage to improve our cognitive dissonance, right? Our ways of knowledge about knowing things, because we're going to start to understand real reality, man. Because the governments, particularly the US leadership and government, and even my government in Canada, elements of them, they continually try to distort reality, right? I always say they use orchestrated strategic distractions, you know, obviously egregious lies in many respects, especially with geopolitical agendas. And, you know, they use psyops. They do it every which way they can, my friends, to keep their foot on the gas and really stealing trillions and trillions of dollars, as we know, out of taxpayers' pockets in the US, the American people. That affects my beautiful people here in Canada. I mean, Lockheed Martin, the F-35 is just an example, that turkey ridiculous plane, okay? So I wanted to get that off my chest this morning, my friends. And the subject matter we're going to talk about today is how do we enforce the Constitution, and the importance of enforcing the Constitution. And we might even get into some of the dangers, I believe, of the space-based economy, okay? So let's get into it, shall we? Oh, and just before that, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Joe from the Carolinas, my YouTube buddy. Hi, Joe. You're still killing it, as I always say. We're loving your videos. But Joe, I challenge you, respectfully, do the right thing, dude. Get me on another podcast. You know, I'm addressing my audience, you guys out there listening to me right now, and Joe. I want to say that Joe and I keep telling you guys, we did an amazing live stream about a year ago. We've had, I don't know, about 3,000 views or so. We got a great positive response. Joe had a blast, as he said. He had a lot of fun with me. We had a great time. We talked about the real secret space program. We came out with a lot of truth and exposing the deep state shadow governments. So much so, you know what YouTube did? They gave Joe a community strike on a gardening video shortly after we did our live stream, right? How do you violate community standards on a gardening video? Come on, Joe knows he didn't do it, right? But this is what they do. And Joe couldn't even live stream for 3 months, everybody. 3 months, right? He was filing appeals, and YouTube weren't even telling them, they weren't even giving him any reason as to what happened. I mean, this is what they do, my friends. Whoever's in the rabbit hole sometimes of YouTube, is it the CIA? You know, were they responsible for giving Joe that community? Well, somebody at YouTube did that, right? Well, why do you think they did that? It seems like it was to cool us off so that we wouldn't do live streams for a while. And it seems to have worked, because Joe hasn't done another live stream with me. I get so exasperated, everybody, because when you get two charismatic guys, I don't want to sound too conceited, but you know, Joe's got his own charisma, of course, and he's a sharp, brilliant guy, even though he describes himself as a nerd, but he's got charisma. Joe, you got charisma, buddy, and you got 7,000 subscribers now. I like to think I got charisma too, you know, and I'm Jason the Fitness Captain SD, and I got other YouTube channels out there. But you know, guys, when you got two charismatic guys bouncing their ideas off one another, particularly when you're talking about the missing trillions like I did, just showing how many trillions of dollars are being stolen and how many trillions of dollars are being deciphered out of North America. When you do that, apparently Elements, whoever's calling the shots sometimes in YouTube, they can't take it, right? They don't like it. These unethical groups. And this is why we got to fight the good fight and compel, hopefully, some good people in these organizations, even in the CIA. I think there's still some good people caught in the system. Let's compel those guys to do the right thing. Help promote our videos, man. And so, Joe, let's do another live stream. You know we can bring thousands of more people and educate more people so we can eventually get a mainstream understanding of what the activities in space and all the secrecy and the trillions of dollars being stolen, and stop this. You know, again, we've got to enforce the Constitution, everybody. I truly believe that. And Catherine Austin Fitts has done a great job talking about the Constitution and how we need to refresh and rejuvenate that covenant. So let's get into it. You know, people in Canada, and when my family hears this video, they're probably going to make fun of me again that I focus so much on the United States, but even that great U.S. Constitution, the values that came out of the Scottish Enlightenment, that should hold true for us Canadians here in Canada, of course. You know, we're the neighbors of the U.S. after all. So let's get into what is the U.S. Constitution, or what are the values? Well, the U.S. Constitution, of course, it says that our rights come from we come from divine creation, right? And our rights to freedom, liberty, happiness, peace, that comes from divine authority, okay? And we have the rights to build and take down governments. Every individual is sacred, of course, it says, and life is sacred, right? And the respect to individual rights and property rights was an extraordinary covenant. It absolutely was. Property rights and individual rights. And yet, we've seen an enormous divide, conquer, tearing down, and persuading people in their spirits, hearts, and minds in not believing in that covenant, right? And they often, you know, I've done videos on the CIA, exposing the CIA elements of them, my friends. They are absolutely out of control. And even during presidential elections, and in so many areas in life, they position people in power, right, to try to, again, get in positions to persuade people in not believing in that covenant and distorting reality, my friends. The CIA are masters at that. That's part of their job description in a lot of ways, my friends, is to distort reality and lie to you guys, particularly when it comes to military UFO flying programs, as I've always said, my friends, okay? So again, the Constitution and the values that came out of the Scottish Enlightenment, I agree with Catherine. They were one of the most miraculous things ever created. You know, the founding fathers that created America and North America, they knew what it would take to create a great country, everybody, right? Absolutely they did. And so we've got to enforce the Constitution, you know? And of course, we know after 9/11, a lot of the Constitution has been hijacked in a lot of ways, right? And now you got defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, who I have a great antipathy, deep antipathy towards elements of Lockheed Martin for what they've done. They're gouging U.S. taxpayers, and again, affects millions of people worldwide, my people in Canada. They've convinced my powerful, beautiful country here and my people, they've convinced Canada to go in the investment on this ridiculous plane that no country needs. We don't need a fleet of them, and we don't even need one. You know, the U.S., I've always said, my friends, they are armed to the teeth. There is no existential threat to the United States. It's great to have a strong military and defense. I get that. But enough with all the defense contracts and the military being out of control, because they are, my friends, largely, okay? And these defense contractors. And you know, we deserve the truth of 95% of what's going on, my friends, and what's going on in space, and where your taxpayer dollars, excuse me, is going, right? We deserve the truth on it. I mean, if you're going to, like Lockheed Martin, if you're going to gouge the taxpayers for a ridiculous Turkey plane and you're bombing ISIS and Taliban members, a totally undefended target, guys with rifles, if you're going to do that, tell us where all the rest of the money's going. Because they've spent over $1 trillion on this plane, my friends, that we didn't even know would ever fly. And now, like I said, they're flying, but they're bombing ISIS and Taliban members, an undefended target. I did a whole series on the F-35, my friends. But this is an example, you know, of the Constitution being hijacked, isn't it, my friends? Because you got elements of CIA, of course, they're all over Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin are involved in so many deep state actions. We know they're delivering billions and billions of dollars of arms around the world legally, which is still, I don't think, a very good thing, right? Delivering arms around the world. But they're also doing it, I believe, illegally, my friends, to the tune of billions of dollars and contraband cash that can't be tracked. And you know what they're utilizing to do it? Well, I told you guys before, Lockheed Martin, I believe, are releasing the AEG craft, anti-gravity electromagnetic gravitics, it stands for, in the heart of the military-industrial complex. And this is the TR-3B, my friends, comes out of the Aurora Space Program. And guess who's the prime contractor? You guessed it, Lockheed Martin. And they're delivering contraband cash, I believe, in arms around the world. They've got these things positioned in different places, and they're releasing them, my friends. And we know it from the story from that CIA puppet stooge, Steven Greer. He tells you the story that he was told by a senior executive for what was that company called? It'll come to me, my friends. But he was he talked to a senior executive under George W. Bush, if you recall. He told that story, and he didn't just pull it out of his ass, my friends. Excuse my language. That is a true story, I believe. And the senior executive for SAIC, that's the company, stands for Science Application International Corporation, my friends. And here's an example. Again, it all relates to the Constitution being compromised and these unethical groups, my friends, because he was told that, it's kind of sunny, I'm going to put my shades on. Do you mind, guys? He was told by both of these guys, they said to Steven, do you have any idea where the money comes from? And Greer said, well, yeah, I think I do. And they said, well, they didn't mention Lockheed Martin, my friends, but if you study Lockheed Martin, you know about the black budget technology some, then you know Lockheed Martin are the prime contractors, again, my friends, for these black triangles. And they're going to relate to this story that I'm about to tell you, okay? So, they told Greer, well, the money, they said there's an 8,000-man army that's in charge of delivering hundreds of billions of dollars of contraband cash and arms around the world that can't be tracked. So contraband cash that can't be tracked and arms around the world, my friends. And they're releasing AEG craft at nighttime in different positions to do it. Well, my friends, as soon as Greer said that, mentioning the craft, then you know it's Lockheed Martin. Because Lockheed Martin have such a monopoly on a lot of these projects, my friends. They are the prime contractors for many of these amazing black budget technology craft. And I give Lockheed Martin credit. That's why they never have to be mad at me, my friends. Even though I expose a little bit Lockheed Martin, try to focus on these guys of the unethical, some of the unethical acts, I always give them credit. They got the best engineers and scientists, some of them at Lockheed Martin. And I know there's a lot of great people still in Lockheed Martin. That's why I always say, my friends, we've got to compel the good people in these organizations, in these compartmentalized structures, the good people that want the truth out to the public, let's compel them to do so, my friends, to help us, you know? Because unfortunately, we do have death-dealing, insidious, greedy forces out there, and a lot of them are the petro-Nazi American British misanthropic money hoarders, some of these dark groups, my friends. And they are absolutely have consulted and exercised way too much power. And for the defense contractors, you know, you got Northrop Grumman, Boeing, but Lockheed Martin, of all the defense contractors, my friends, Lockheed Martins are the ones we need to focus on. And Lockheed Martin, elements of Lockheed, my friends, they have compromised a large part of the U.S. Constitution. I'll give you an example how they do it. I've told you guys before on videos, Catherine Austin Fitts tells you Now, Catherine is the financial expert that was secretary for HUD, Housing and Urban Development, back in the day in Washington under George W. Bush, right? Or one of the Bush. And she tells you, every time that she went to get data from DOD Defense or HUD, Housing and Urban Development, it was always blocked by guess who? You got it, Lockheed Martin. And anytime she went to get the contracting paperwork that came out of HUD, it was, again, controlled by Lockheed Martin, as well as many other various agencies within the federal government. So there you go, my friend. You got a military contractor controlling all the database in the U.S. federal government. Is that a big problem or what? It sure is. And she told Dark Journalist this in numerous interviews, my friends. So again, going to the Constitution, everybody, we absolutely need to refresh and rejuvenate that covenant, right? And you know, one of the great quotes that I liked back in the day about the Constitution was, of course, John Adams. What did he say? He said that the war was the consequence of the revolution, but the revolution was in the hearts and minds of the people and their commitment to an obligation and responsibility for one another. Isn't that a great quote, everybody? And so true. So again, my friends, when it comes to enforcing the Constitution, it starts with we need a new awareness campaign over the United States intel agencies. We absolutely do. And that means we need intelligent discourse on the CIA in particular, my friends. But the CIA, the NRO, the NSA, the Deep Black program contractors, we just need to have intelligent discussion. We need to coalesce our ideas and thinking, so ultimately, my friends, we can manifest a true beauty for ourselves, because we've got to penetrate this black budget technology, my friends, and I know we can do it. It's free energy. It's an alternative, clean, free energy that we're talking about here, everybody. And again, I'm making my life goal to do so. And you never know. I just might have an informant at Lockheed Martin helping me. You never know. But I'm doing hardcore research, my friends, and my intentions are pure. I'm trying to be bold, honest, open, and true. And you know, another guy, the only other guy that I know of that's trying to help us penetrate this black budget technology in a real, authentic way is Michael Schratt, my buddy, the great aircraft aerospace historian, and I commend him, okay? And you know, again, my buddy, YouTube buddy Joe from the Carolinas, he's doing great work in his own way. He gets a lot of freedom of information requests, trying to provide transparency and truth that way, and I respect that. That's great. I look more at the covert side as well, and I tell you about real history showing you without a doubt, in the 1950s, the Americans, with the help of the brilliant Nazi German scientists, some with a very warped moral compass, as we know, but what the Americans did an epic human project in the 1950s in terms of researching, testing, and ultimately curating amazing, radical, gnarly military UFO flying programs. Gnarly technology, my friends. They absolutely did. And there's been no transparency or policy discussion on that. You know, it's a shame, my friends, right? There should be a mainstream understanding of this black budget technology, okay? So again, everybody, let's enforce the Constitution. And here's another example of enforcing the Constitution, what we need to do. In the United States, what was it, just a couple years ago, Catherine tells you, right? You know, Catherine had said, first of all, we've got $21 trillion missing since 1998, my friends. I did a whole series on the missing trillions. We'll do it again. 21 trillion. And as great as a number that is, that's even a low number, because that doesn't even include other elements of the U.S. federal government. I think that's just from DOD. Now, how did Catherine come up with that hard figure, everybody? And that was reported worldwide, by the way, because that's a magic number that will pay off the U.S. debt at about 20 trillion. Yes, this is a known fact, my friends. Well, Catherine got the help from Professor Skidmore at the University of Michigan. He had 15 of his brightest accountants go through documents in the federal government, and they got 21 trillion. And now with the bailouts of the banks, get this, everybody. I said this on my other videos on the missing trillions. If you go back to the early 1990s, okay? Well, now with the bailouts of the banks, you know, we gave another 20 trillion to the banks, and you know, you had the pump and dump of the stock market, quantitative easing. You've got up to $50 trillion in assets or more, my friends, that Catherine's estimated, and I think that's an accurate assessment, shifted out of North America into something else. You know, and the question is, the $50 trillion question is, where is it going? As I've talked about, everybody. And again, it all relates to the Constitution. It all relates to causing so much depression, sadness, anguish, starvation of many, many people, homeless people. My friends, we shouldn't have any homeless people. You know, even in my powerful, beautiful country, Canada, I found out we've got hundreds of thousands of homeless people. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine what this money would do for our society, my friends? You know, it should be going to helping with healthcare, of course, right? Helping our nursing homes, right? The quality of our nursing homes. Paying nurses more to help the sick, you know, and helping the sick, right? I mean, come on, helping with education, man. Assisting with kids and building our infrastructure. But I'm telling you, my friends, a lot of the money is going towards off-planet investment on the moon and Mars. Absolutely no question about it. And this money, my friends, it's caused enormous privileges. And here's the thing. One of the great dangers, I believe, of the space-based economy, we're going to talk more about the space-based economy in the future, everybody, but one of the great dangers is this divergence between the people in the know and the people who don't know, right? Absolutely. And it's created an enormous divide in the population. Because, you see, we've got this absurd elite secrecy, this cover-up for over 50 to 60 years, my friends, on this technology. We absolutely do, as I've told you. And even Catherine will tell you, my friends, privileges are the most wasteful thing that you can have for an economy, because it can literally destroy so much optimization within an economy that it will destroy the wealth of the people with the privileges. It could be that destructive, everybody. Absolutely. So here's the thing too. The 50 trillion, my friends, where is it all going? Well, a lot of it's the space-based economy, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of it, I believe, is the covert weaponry. The U.S. have significant space-based weapons and classified vehicles, as I've talked about, in low Earth orbit, geocentric orbit, deep in space. That's part of it. Part of it is obviously for the infrastructure for the military UFO flying programs. That's why we got under-ocean facilities, under-ocean bases worldwide. We know the Americans have many underground bases, and other powerful countries do as well. Some people have estimated America, in the United States alone, they may have about 1,000 to 2,000 underground bases, everybody. I know, it's extraordinary, right? And some bases are documented. You know, you got your continuity government for, you know, the government to communicate with each other underground. They've got railway systems. It's all kinds of secret technology development. It's quite fascinating. And I'll do more research into that for us, everybody. But so that's where a lot of the money is going. And I always ask, I think the $50 trillion question is, in other words, how much of that money is for off-planet investment, which I think the majority of the money is, to industrialize the moon and Mars, and that's been going on for decades, particularly on the far side of the moon, my friends. But that's part of it. And then the other question is, how much is that money to re-engineer North America's economy? As I said in another video, you know, we see the push, for example, with the G7, G20. That's a push to have a global governance of the whole planet. So that's another question, my friends. Again, how much is it to re-engineer North America's economy versus how much is it to assert a global governance of the whole Earth? And the G7, G20 is an example of that. Now, they're caught, I think they've encountered more salt toffee in the ground than they expected. You know, they're sort of stuck in the mud globally, thankfully, on that. But this is just an example I want to give you guys quickly of the money situation, the extraordinary financial situation we're in, my friends. You know, America could be so much wealthier. But again, it's caused enormous privileges for a small group of people, my friends, that are in the know. These unacknowledged special access projects, you know, elements of the CIA, the NSA, the NRO, again, the deep black program contractors, the people that are in these military UFO flying programs that have the technology, my friends. And this technology, I've told you guys before, it's trans-international, okay? Russia, China have military UFO flying programs as well, no doubt about it. And they're working covertly with one another. So we need to talk about this, my friends, okay? Right? We really do. And then we could take action and make a real positive, amazing, transformative change in our world. Because what it comes down to, everybody, and this is why I talk about the Constitution today, is how do we grow a culture and society to sustain ethical leadership, right? Well, to do it, we've got to enforce the Constitution. And to enforce the Constitution, we need to we need to basically crush the CIA, my friends. At least the unethical groups inside these structures, right? We've got to provide transparency and truth and call them out and understand real reality. Cut through the misdirection, the lies, the psyops out there, my friends, that the government's put out to the public often, right? To deceive you guys. Because most of us, we deserve the truth, you know. And the other thing I want to say about the Constitution, everybody, and that, you know, the extraordinary financial situations here, you know, even Catherine tells you, what was it, a few years ago, there was a push to have a Constitution convention on the theory that we need to change the Constitution and force a balanced budget amendment. I think that was in 2015 or 16, right? Well, Catherine's always said, and I totally agree with her, right? Reason, logic, common sense. She tells you, no, we don't need to change the Constitution. We need to enforce it. And part of enforcing it is find out where that 50 trillion went that was stolen. Again, I mean, they used trillions of dollars of covert economic crime cash flows over the years, my friends. That's a large part of the money too. But trillions of dollars stolen, again, out of US taxpayers' pockets. And that means my Canadians, my friends, as well. So we got to get the 50 trillion back. Where is it gone? Get it back on the Constitution, on the budget. And Catherine says there's ways of doing it, right? With management of the federal budget, both Constitution and financial management laws. There's ways of getting the equivalent of that money in the form of assets or common law write-up offset back. So, because my friends, here's the thing, right? If we don't do it, if we don't get this $50 trillion back and try to get a lot of this money back on the budget, then what are we doing? With this, you're plugging the hole with our personal wealth and resources, right? That's exactly what you're doing. You know, I almost laugh. It's so outrageous. You know, even what they were doing with trying to force this balanced budget amendment. Catherine is right on when she says we've got to enforce the Constitution, not change it. Okay? I hope, guys, I've been clear on that, you know. And I think the U.S. Constitution was again a great thing. I think it relates obviously to my powerful country, Canada, and really relates to all our allies, right? Italy, Denmark, Sweden, and so many other countries and millions of people worldwide. So anyway, guys, I'm freezing. It's cold out here in powerful country, Canada, but I thought it was about time that I try to express my thoughts about the Constitution and those amazing values that came out of the Scottish Enlightenment, and just sort of briefly tell you guys, I believe, the great dangers of the space-based economy and what we need to do to change our society to, again, manifest a true beauty ultimately for ourselves, my friends. Because once we penetrate this black budget technology and finally get it integrated into society, and it is our divine right and rite of passage to have access to this energy, my friends, finally, this free energy, these free energy generation propulsion systems. I've always said it will beautify our planet in ways we can't even begin to imagine. It's going to clean up our ecosystem, my friends. And these unethical groups and these structures, they know that, okay? But, you know, enough with the greed. I compel more of the good people in these structures and these organizations, do the right thing. You know, let's get this black budget technology. Let's get a mainstream understanding of it. Let's stop with the lies, you know, because most of us in society, we deserve this, man. I mean, enough is enough. 50 to 60 years at least of lying to us about it. Are you kidding me? You know, we're going to do whole videos, guys, on the cover-up as well. And it all relates again to the Constitution, right? You know, I'll just say one last thing, guys. And this relates to the cover-up too. And Catherine's talked about this as well, everybody. When you're talking about the U.S. leadership and government, the problem that they have right now, and the lies have become so outrageous, like I said, and all these psyops, it's just, and the dysfunction and waste is just off the charts, my friends. Anybody who's half awake knows that. And Lockheed Martin's F-35 scam, that duplicitous business scheme of over $1 trillion spent on a ridiculous plane that we don't need, that's just one example, everyone. And they've conned 9 other foreign nations to go in on this crap. You know, it's just outrageous, right? And but here's the thing, my friends. The cover-up, the difficulty that they have is, how do they explain stealing, using exorbitant amount of resources, gold, silver, base metals, stealing that. How do they explain away stealing, again, trillions and trillions of dollars from US taxpayers' pockets and people around the world? And then how do they explain transferring this technology to all these companies, my friends, right? And all these unacknowledged special access projects. You know, as soon as they do, people are going to want shares, of course. Where are my shares in Google Earth, or, you know, where are my shares in security? So in other words, it's going to force a look at their authenticity and credibility. Again, their whole authenticity and credibility, my friends, is going to be looked at, okay? And that means most of the credibility, that means the credibility of most of the US leadership and government obviously will be looked at, right? That's their difficulty, my friends. And that's why we, the public, more of us, we need to compel the US leadership and government and these deep black program contractors to do the right thing. Tell us the truth, stop lying, stop gouging the taxpayers, you know? Again, there's a lot of great people in the military, my friends, but when it comes to the US military, often the deep black program contractors, it's really all about defense contracts, garnering more defense contracts and technology patents. And it's really not helping most of society, my friends. It's out of control, okay? And we know the American CIA largely helped to create ISIS and the Taliban, delivering all the arms around the world. Like I said, elements of Lockheed Martin, other defense contractors, they deliver billions and billions of dollars of arms around the world. Now, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes, but a lot of times it's not, my friends. I mean, it's out of control. Let's create peace. Let's strengthen and let's get our power and sovereignty back, my friends. And let's, again, help grow culture and society to sustain ethical leadership. I know we can do it, everybody. You know, we just got to band together and have global vigilance for victory, as I like to say now. Take care, everybody. Joe likes to say something in the similar lines like that. He says, what do you say, Joe? Vigilance for victory, I think? How about global vigilance for victory? Let's get our power and sovereignty back, my friends. Anyways, I got to go. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for being gracious with your time. There's a lot to digest today, but I think I hopefully came out with a lot of important information for you guys to be aware, okay? Those of you that may not have known this. So I hope you guys will subscribe, give me the thumbs up, and find that church bell, would you, on the internet, and hit it so you can be notified for future videos. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Till next time, and we're going to talk about Donald Trump's Space Force. I did videos on it again, but we're going to get it into more detail and how that relates to the space-based economy too, okay? Because again, my friends, we deserve transparency and truth on all of this, pretty much. Take care. Bye.